Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. We're here for a brand new match previewing Wolves' away fixture against Brentford, the 27th of December. Normally the Boxing Day fixture, but of course it's been nudged back one day with Wolves playing on Christmas Eve, and it will be on Amazon here in the UK. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. Obviously, I hope you guys enjoyed your Christmas as well. A little bit of a different one for me, quite a quiet one. Due to personal circumstances and stuff for me. So a little bit different, but obviously enjoying the time off nonetheless. And obviously it was great for Wolves to pick up the 3 points against Chelsea on Christmas Eve. We did the reaction to that. We had the fans react out as well. And nice to go into Christmas in a pretty decent position in the table. I think we would have taken, where were we, sort of 11th, 12th in the league. So really decent considering the circumstances that Wolves had right at the start of the campaign. Look, we're coming to the halfway point of the season. This will be officially Wolves' halfway point after this game. 19 games gone. And I think if we can pick up some more points against Brentford, Wolves will be in a nice little position going into the second half of the season. There will be games that we pick up points in. Hopefully second half of the season. Almost try and replicate that first half. Because I think if Wolves can get that mid-table finish, then that would be brilliant. Like I said, there will be games like the Man City game and Spurs game. The chances of us winning those games away from home are quite unlikely. But you want to make sure you better your results against the Sheffield United, the Lutons. With them coming to Molineux, you'd hope that you can get 3 points there as well, and increase our tally going into the in towards the end of the season. Brentford are an interesting team though, because I almost feel like, and I said this on a preview for a Brentford podcast, I feel like they've almost become one of these sort of established Premier League teams now. I don't think they're a team that you would label as going to be knocking on the door for Europe, but I think they're also well organised, good team, and really too good to be relegated from the Premier League at the moment under Thomas Frank, who, and full credit to him really, with the team that he's established, the style of play that he's got them playing at the moment. And previews like these, especially between Christmas and New Year, are always quite difficult to do because there's a lot of things that managers have to consider. Suspensions, fatigue is obviously a big one as well with injuries, and sort of the quick turnaround in fixtures. So in terms of my predicted lineup shortly, it's going to be quite hard. I've got it bang on quite a lot of times so far this season. I think the Chelsea game was another one where I got the lineup bang on. But this one is obviously a little bit different. I don't think we really get a pre-match press conference as well from Gary O'Neill. We might get some snippets of news over, Boxing Day evening, and if not, obviously the morning of the game as well. But we're looking okay. And very quickly in regards to suspensions, no Wolves players are officially suspended for this game, but 2 players are 1 booking away. They are Hwang Ki-chan and Ryan Ait-Nouri. But if they avoid a booking against Brentford, the sort of the 5 yellow card thing then moves up to 10. So they'll be absolutely fine. There won't be any suspensions until they get to 10 yellow cards. So if they can get through this game without a booking, then obviously great. Like I said, the form between Wolves and Brentford. Wolves have actually been okay against Brentford. I think we had a little bit of a blip when Brentford first came to the Premier League. They came to Molineux, mastered the dark arts almost against Wolves, and it really frustrated fans. I remember that game. But sort of historically over the last few years, but in the Championship when we came up, and away from home at Brentford as well, we've done okay. But away form, not just against Brentford, but just in general at the moment, has been very, very poor. I was going to say diabolical. You could say diabolical because I think it's 5 wins in our last 35 Premier League away games is not good enough. And obviously if Wolves, you can stay up and you can have a decent Premier League position as long as you make your home a fortress. But there's no guarantee that we're going to be picking up points every single game at Molineux. So we have to start picking up some more points away from home. And I think Brentford, although they're a great side, is a good opportunity for Wolves to try and right some of those wrongs that we've seen over the last couple of months or so on the road, and try and get some points on the board. And that way we could start looking up rather than, once again, looking over our shoulder, which I seem to mention every single week. In regards to a predicted lineup, I think, looking at this game, I think the one major doubt is going to be Craig Dawson. He came off with what looked like quite a nasty injury. They did bring the stretchers on for him, but he did walk off in the end. But I don't know, he overstretched, I think, coming for that ball, and when it made impact with him. Could be a nasty little injury, that. But, in regards to a starting lineup for me, I think Sarr starts in goal again. I think the distribution for a number of times against Chelsea would be something that Gary O'Neill would have discussed with him. But I think he keeps his place. Back three, I think Totti, Santi Bueno. It'd be nice to see him. I think he's had to wait very, very patiently. Obviously, we saw him against Fulham and he did okay. But he's had to wait very, very patiently for these opportunities, and Max Kilman there alongside him. For me, Aït-Nouri was a huge boost. Absolutely massive boost against Chelsea. He has to stay in as long as he's fit, alongside Nelson Semedo again, who had another good game. João Gomez and Lamina, for me, these two are fantastic against Chelsea. If they're fit, they start. And front three, again, I'll probably go unchanged. Hwang, Sarabia, and Mateus Cunha. So, bar Dawson or Santi Bueno, it's a pretty unchanged team for me. One player that I'm hoping that we do see involved is Pedro Neto. It's pretty common knowledge that he was going to be in the squad against Chelsea, and we didn't even see him. He was on the bench with a couple of players ill. I think Bellegarde and Boubacar Traoré weren't present either. So hopefully this sort of illness throughout the squad leaves sooner rather than later, keeps us with a strong squad. But really looking forward to this game. Be interesting, obviously, between Christmas and New Year. This game and the Everton game, they're not givens. They're not matches that you think Wolves, yes, they're definitely going to win. They are very tough oppositions. But there is also that small chance that Wolves could go into the new year with 9 points out of 9, which would be obviously phenomenal. So, Brentford, we've got them in the FA Cup in a few weeks as well. Nice little first round match between us two now. But I'm hoping that Wolves can obviously get the better of them. But we're getting the Brentford perspective now. We've got the thoughts of Billy from the Besotted podcast to give his thoughts on Brentford ahead of this game.
Season's greetings, Wolves fans. This is Billy from Besotted podcast and blog here, besotted.com. We're proud of West London if you want to get hold of us as well. Like I said to you, hope you've had a great Christmas, happy holidays, many festivities. And like I said to you, a couple of days off and then back to the football again. I know that Wolves are coming down to, as we call it, New Griffin Park, down in West London on Boxing Day +1, evening kickoff as well. So like I said to you, hopefully it's going to be a good game. Any Wolves fans that are coming down, just to let you know, you can go to any pub. You can wear your colours down there. No bouncers on the door, none of that business at all. You can go to any pub in Brentford and Kew as well. And you'll be welcome with open arms as well, as long as you do the manners, as we say. Like I said, just have a drink, just have a good time. And like I said to you, no problems at all. So come down and enjoy yourselves and have another festive beer on the bees, like I said to you. But just coming back to the game, which is on, like I said to you, it's going to be on Boxing Day +1. Talking about Brentford, I mean, a lot of people have asked us this season, are you happy with Brentford's performance this season and where they are on the table? And we're currently 14th place. We've actually got a game in hand because we didn't play Manchester City at the weekend. We were meant to play them, but of course they went off to Saudi Arabia to go and earn a bit of money over there because of course they need it, So we had a weekend off, which is actually quite good for us because I know that you had a game at the weekend on, I think it was on Christmas Eve as well, which actually probably went quite well for you. You're probably quite happy with that. You beat Chelsea 1-0. Beating Chelsea is for many teams. We beat them as well this season as well. So it's a good feeling beating Chelsea as well. So I think you must be very happy after that, like you say. But we had a weekend off. We didn't play Manchester City, so we're sort of one game behind. We're sitting in 14th place at the moment now. If we win our game in hand, and that's a big if, we'll be equal on points with Wolverhampton. I think probably better goal difference, so we'll probably slip into 11th place. Obviously, you need to win your games in hand. So if you ask me if I would be happy if we were if he said at the beginning of the season we'd be 14th stroke 11th stroke 12th at this time, halfway through the season, I'll tell you absolutely yes. Of course, you know that Ivan Toney, our big striker, third highest goal scorer in the league last season after Haaland and Harry Kane. He did a few naughty things and he put a few little wagers on, and unfortunately he hasn't played for us all this season because he's been banned. So we've had to deal with Ivan Toney. Or the lack of Ivan Toney, to be quite honest with you. And we were a little bit nervous to see how we're going to deal with that. Because, the question is, do you buy in another player? It's not easy to find a person who scored loads of goals, as everybody knows. That's a difficult thing. Or do you actually bring in one of your players and try to adapt them for the period of time that he's going to be out? The big bonus, I suppose, is that when Ivan Toney was found out to have done these misdemeanors, it was September the year before. So we had a bit of time to plan ahead to what we're going to do with Ivan Toney. So I think he was over in Italy. He was going to play for England, and they found out he didn't play for England at the time. He didn't go to the World Cup, but we had a good 6 or 7 months that we had to plan what we're going to do with Ivan Toney. In the January window, we bought in a player called Kevin Schade. We bought him in from, I think, Freiburg as well, who are one of these sort of unfashionable sides in Germany, but are doing very well in the Bundesliga. So we bought him in from Freiburg for a relatively small fee. Compared to what you would have to do for decent, strikers with a bit of a name, with the thought that we're going to sort of develop him into possibly, maybe taking Ivan Toney's place, maybe in 18 months' time or a year's time. Obviously, with the ban. He's had to come into play a little bit quicker. So we started playing him towards the back end of the season, started putting him here or there. And when Ivan Toney came out, he actually had a couple of good games. We beat Manchester City at the back end of the season. We beat Tottenham at the back end of the season as well. And I think we beat West Ham back end of the season. I think he had a few good games there as well. And it gave us a bit of a light as to what it would be like. Season started, no Ivan Toney. Started actually really well. We drew at Tottenham beginning of the season, which we were a bit gutted about. We thought we should have beaten them. Actually, in retrospect, now looking back at how Tottenham are going, it's actually looking back at it saying it's actually quite a good result. Obviously, very happy beating the F word Fulham 3-0 as well. We beat them at their place as well. Always good for West London side like us to beat Fulham as well, which is good. And then after that, we had a few draws, which we maybe should have got a few wins, but we did pretty. I think we did pretty well, holding our own. In the first month and a half, there's probably a couple of games that we should have got results. Bournemouth at home, I think we drew 2-2 with them. We should have beaten them. But listen, we were quite happy because we were playing as we felt like with a slightly makeshift side. We're trying to make do with Ivan Toney, putting Visa up front. We brought in Neil Maupay as well, who's a Brentford favourite. I know a lot of fans don't like him, but he's a massive Brentford favourite because he bleeds red and white. He really does. So we're really looking forward to seeing whether or not he would actually come up with the results. Actually, he's been so far, but we're still early days for him as yet. So, like I said to you, going into that season and, looking at ourselves at being a mid-table side towards the end of September, we were very happy. And then what happens? Of course, we're dealing with the Ivan Toney thing, and then bang. First of all, then we get Rico Henry. And Kevin Schade, first of all. Kevin Schade, who has been brought in for Ivan Toney, he gets injured. He gets injured actually in a warm-up against, I can't remember, I think it was Everton, actually. Everton, who hadn't even won a game that season. They went and smashed us 3-1. He gets injured in the warm-up. All of a sudden, we have to make do. Oh, God, what do we have to do? A few weeks later, Rico Henry, he got injured as well. And that, for us, was forget about Ivan Toney. We could deal with Ivan Toney. But Rico Henry being out was the biggest blow for Brentford. It was absolutely massive blow for us because he really, the way that we play kind of revolves around him. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's like shit up a shovel. He's very, very fast player. So when we're on the attack, him down one side, Brian and Bumo down on the other side. They're honestly, he is such a great player. So we can move out of defense into attack very, very quickly. Okay. But also the other thing is that if an opposition team like yourselves, like, any of these other big sides as well, who come and they break against us as well, we can recover really quickly because Rico Henry can get back really quickly as well. So losing him out the side has completely and utterly changed the way that we play. And I have to put my hands up to say that we've struggled a little bit to adapt without Rico Henry. But to be fair to the players that have come in, they've done a really good job and they've done, what they can do to try and make it work. I know, it's easy for teams to moan on about injuries, and all teams say we all have injuries, and I understand that as well. And we've gone for years where we've had no injuries, and it's done us proud. It's done us brilliantly, and we've done okay. But you sort of think when you go for 2 or 3 seasons when you haven't had really many injuries, one season's going to come when you're going to have loads. And this is the season it's come for us, and we have had so many injuries this season. And that's the reason why I'm very happy that we're still, halfway up the table, considering the injuries we've had. I mean, obviously, I've talked about Rico Henry being out. Ivan Toney, he's obviously been out through suspension as well. Then on top of that, the players that we've got out, we've got Brian Bumo. I mean, he's out till probably April as well. He's been the key player since Ivan Toney has not played. Brian Bumo, he has been assisting, he has been scoring, he's actually upped his levels, and he's been a really great player. And him being out for us is a massive blow for Brentford as well. Christopher Raya is one of our defenders. He's been out for quite a long period of time as well. Matthias Jensen is our attacking midfielder player. Again, he is one of our creative player in the middle there. He's been injured for, quite a while. There's a rumour that he might be coming back against Wolves. I'm not quite sure whether, but he's been out for, I think he's been out for a couple of months as well. And losing that creative player in the middle of your team, honestly, has really done us as well. Hickey, defender, right back, plays for Scotland. He's been out. He's going to be out for quite a while as well. He's been out for a while. Obviously I talked about Kevin Schade, Josh De Silva's been out. And then also recently we've had Nathan Collins, who obviously we signed from yourself. He's been injured. He's only just got back into the game. Keane Lewis-Potter, he's been injured for a while. He's just got back into the game. Ben Mee was injured for a while. He's literally just come back and he's had to sort of take place of all the defenders that have been missing as well. He's not going to be playing on from the Wolves game because he got suspended because he got sent off against Aston Villa. We got also Damsgaard as well. He's the Danish international who scored the goal against England, free kick against England in the Euro semi-final as well. He's been injured for ages. He's only just come into the game as well. Baptiste as well. He's been injured to come into the game. So we've almost got a team of players who've been injured. Like I said to you, no excuses, because for me, players out means opportunity for players to come in. So, this has created opportunity for players like, obviously Schade had an opportunity at the beginning. He's got injured. Neil Maupay has got massive opportunities now to step up. We brought him in as a loan player to see us out to the end of the season, see what he can do. So he's had lots of opportunities. More recently, we've had Damsgaard, who's just come in as well, and he's kind of taken the place of Jensen. Big opportunities for him. He's been looking quite good actually as well, so recently to see how he can step up into the game. The person who's probably taken the biggest opportunity though is a player called is a player. Well, we got Zank come in as well, but also we got Saman Ghoddos. He's a player that we've had him he came through the championship with us, and big things were expected of him, and he didn't quite meet the expectations. So we released him at the end of the season. So we just released him. He left in the summer, and he went off and he became a free agent. And he obviously couldn't find a team. And then when we had all these injuries in September, we put a phone call in, said, Saman, could you come back, please? Because we're really struggling. So we brought him back in. And instead of him playing a sort of more forward role, he's actually been playing this utility role where we just put him anywhere we need to. And more recently, he's been playing in fullback position, and he's been absolutely brilliant. He scored goal of the month, the Premier League goal of the month. I think it was against Burnley. In 3-1, I think the win against Burnley, he scored the goal of the month there. He's been absolutely brilliant. So we'll see where he will slot into the side, but it's been a real eye-opener for us because people were, not overly sad to see him go at the time, but now he's come back, he's a must-have player in our side. So, going back to the season, like I said to you, we beat Fulham, the Spurs. Well, the biggest wins for us this season, like I said to you, is the 2-0 win against Chelsea at Chelsea. Few of the gutters, we lost against Everton when, to be quite honest with you, Sean Dyche, he's Dyched them right up. And I think we were the first Dyching of the season. And he's done quite a few teams since then. And Sean Dyche is a very clever manager. And we really struggled to beat a Sean Dyche team. We've played him 7 times and we only beaten him 6 times. He's beaten us 6 times. We've only beaten him once. So he knows how to unpick us as well. We also were up at Manchester United. We were 1-0 up in the 92nd minute. And McTominay came on and then he scored 2 goals. And the rest is history. They threw the kitchen sink at us. We were pretty gutted about that because that was an absolutely nailed on victory. So technically we should have had a few more points than we should have done. Also the Villa game that we played, which went off quite massively. There was quite a lot of Barneying going on. You probably saw Ollie Watkins, who was absolutely loved by Brentford. He was actually called out by a Brentford fan in the crowd, one Brentford fan in the crowd. So when he scored, he decided to celebrate and point out this Brentford fan. The crowd obviously didn't know it, and the whole crowd turned on Ollie Watkins, and the game turned after that. Ben Mee got sent off. We were well and truly in command before Ben Mee gets sent off. After that, we had been missing, and they scored 2 goals from headers, I think it was, and it was a bit of a shame. But it was a bit of a 2 players got sent off. The crowd was all kicking off. The players were all kicking off. It was a bit of a mad one because we don't really have any history with Aston Villa, maybe in the same way as what you might do. So that was a bit of a gutter that we lost that game as well. But in general, like I said to you, we've been doing all right this season. So, I've just given you sort of a kind of a lowdown as to kind of the Bees players and the issues that we've had. But as Brentford fans, we're pretty happy with our position in the league at the moment now. And I'm going to say touch wood because also, anything could happen. But, looking at where it's at, teams like us always are looking at the relegation zone, and you're looking at the teams that are getting relegated. And we still think that there's enough of a cushion between us, and we've got enough players that are going to be coming back in February and March, which will keep us away from that zone. So I think we're fairly comfortable as to where we are at the moment now. As for Wolverhampton Wanderers, listen, you've always got you've got a good side, you've had a good team. We obviously had our little ding dongs that used to happen in the Championship. You came up a few years before we did, and then we've come up into the Premier League now as well. And, we like to say that we're a fairly established mid-table team at the moment now. Things could change in the future as well. Wolverhampton didn't have a great season last season, but they're having a better season this season as well. And you've got a new manager as well, who I've got a lot of respect for as well. Listen, Bournemouth, they could do what you could do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Other teams do what they want to do, but you've just got to just deal with it yourself. So, just to looking at Wolves' team, we know that we have to be on our guard. The fact is that, we haven't got our full side out, but we've got our new players coming in, and how are they going to deal with, players like Pedro Neto as well? Great player, loads of assists. How are you going to deal against that? Matthias Cunha as well, great forward as well. And also He Chan as well, who's been scoring loads of goals for yourself as well. It's going to be a massive challenge for us, especially, like I said to you, as our defense has been revamped because a lot of our defenders are out. So the players that will come in, they're going to have to step up to the plate. Christian Norgard, key player for us. If Christian Norgard has a good game, we have a great game as well. Okay, so you've got Mario Lemina as well in that sort of defensive role for yourself. So it's going to be an interesting scenario to see how those two players kind of match up and who's going to dominate the midfield. I've noticed that you normally go 3-4-3, which means that you kind of play with your wing back. So it's going to be interesting to see how we are able to cope with that. We're going to have probably Godos and Roslev as well. Roslev came out of our B team, young player. So, in effect, it's almost like not quite the academy because we've got a different system going on, but it's one of those players that's come up there and he's stepped up to the plate, to be fair. He's still learning his game. And, he has his challenges, when he comes up against players of a certain ability. So let's see how both himself and Godos deal with the players who are coming down them flanks, if that's the way that you're going to be playing. So let's see. You've got Samido and is it Nuri probably is going to be coming down those flanks if you're going to be playing in that format. As for Brentford, I'm just going to go get a pot and actually start picking some names out of the hat because you want to see exactly what team's going to be playing for us. It's a difficult one for us because, like I said to you, having so many players out, but just looking at the players who have played in the last few games and also looking at, the formation, because normally we'd play in a game against Wolves, we normally play probably 4-3-3. We normally go three at the back against, maybe a Liverpool's, Aston Villa, we went three at the back as well. But normally we'll go 4-3-3 against maybe Wolves, and other teams maybe in and around us and playing at home. The difficulty that we have is that we've run out of players. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't know who'd go right back in that scenario necessarily. So I'm going to go for a setup where I'm going to sort of say Flecken in goal. Flecken, we bought him in the close season after David Raya went off to Arsenal, or actually bought in Flecken before Raya went to Arsenal because Raya wasn't sold at the time. But we don't get held ransom to anybody. So if somebody doesn't sign a new contract, we buy a new player in before that player leaves. So we actually bought Flecken in, which kind of upset Raya and his agent a little bit. They ended up going off to Arsenal. They say it's a loan deal. It's not a loan deal at all. He's definitely permanently an Arsenal player. We do miss him massively. And at Fleckham, all I'm going to say is that he does have a mistake in him. And the jury's out with a lot of fans on Mark Fleckham. So we'll see. He'll pull off a good save, but then he'll do something which we sort of think maybe that could have been a little bit better. So you've got Fleckham in goal. What I'll say is that let me say if we go three at the back, just because of the players that we've got at the moment now. If we go Collins has been out for a while, but he was brought on off the bench against Aston Villa because I think it's because of we made a substitution. But so Collins came on. So maybe you got Collins, Ethan Pinnock, who's been absolutely brilliant, Jamaican international as well, absolutely fantastic. So he's a rock in the middle of our defence. So he's there. And they will probably be bringing in Zanka because again, we've run out of players. So Zanka, maybe if we're going to go three at the back, we'll play those three at the back. If that's the situation, then we'll have Roslev playing on the right. Godos playing on the left in more of a kind of, like I say, a wing-back role, with Norgard playing in the CDM position. Then you've got Janelt as well. And Janelt's one of those players who plays in multiple positions. He's been playing fullback at some stage. He'll play in midfield a lot of the time. He might play in Norgard's position sometime. So you've got, Janelt and Damsgaard playing sort of like that sort of double pivot role in the midfield in front of Norgard. And then you've got Wisa, who is a player who's more of a kind of off the bench type player, but he's had a lot of game time now to try and prove himself. Wisa and Keane Lewis Potter, who was injured for a while, we signed him from Hull and we kind of send him off away to kind of get himself Premier League ready. And he's been doing all right. He's got some good touches. He's still got a little bit of work to do. We'll probably be playing up front as well with Neil Maupay on the bench and other players on the bench as well. So that's going to give you our setup, as to how Brentford are going to be playing against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Listen, it's going to be a tough game. I know it's going to be a tough game. We are finding it quite tough at the moment now. I think we coped initially with the injuries, but with more of injuries that's come out, we found it harder and harder. But the one thing that our team does have, they've got a lot of battle. They do stick it out to the end, and they really do kind of play together as a team. And I think that comes from our championship and lower league kind of sort of vibe where, it wasn't about buying big name players. It's about you having a real team bonding thing. So I think if anything, that's going to try and get us through. That's going to get us through this game. And talking about results wise, I'll be honest with you, I'll be very happy if we can get a draw out of this game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. We just want to stay in the game. We just want to stay ourselves, just eke a few little points here and there, and wind our way towards January when Ivan Toney's going to be coming back. He's going to be back at the 20th of January for the Forest game. And then we'll see how things change then. But we just know that we're having our head above the water, actually. We're sort of swimming with our heads above the water at the moment now and just trying to eke out points here and there. So like I said to you, I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good, exciting game. A safe journey to all the Wolves fans who are coming down. Like I said to you, you can get to any pubs down there, just wear your colours and like I said to you, enjoy yourselves and enjoy the game, but not too much, obviously, I'd say. And like I said to you, we will see you in a few months' time up at Wolverhampton when we come there as well. So thanks very much, Wolves fans, and happy holidays to you all.
So big thanks to Billy, as always. Fantastic to have him back on the channel. I'll make sure to leave a link to the Besotted YouTube page. Got a fantastic podcast which has been going a long number of years. So big thanks to them. I appreciate them taking the time to send that across during this Christmas period. Again, I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think I'll probably take a point on the road here, guys. I think a 1-1. Wolves just need to try. It was frustrating that we didn't keep a clean sheet against Chelsea because I thought we should have and probably could have. But the fact that we scored again at home and got a win, despite us not being at our total best against Chelsea, is encouraging. So if we can step up the level of performance against Brentford, we've got every opportunity. And fingers crossed. Let me know your thoughts and your comments in the comment section down below with your predictions, guys. Hopefully, like I said, you've enjoyed your Christmas and your Boxing Day as we look towards a busy football schedule going into the new year as well. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.